Hello and welcome back to Prairie Story Readings. Today we continue our reading of The Living Mountain by Nan Shepherd with Part 3, The Group. Just a disclaimer before we get into it that I am not a Gaelic speaker, and my reading of this book, which contains many Gaelic names, is not an accurate representation of the way that those names are meant to be pronounced. Apologies. My first climb was Ben Macdui, rightly, since he is the highest and by the classic route of Cuireachichin, and from that first day 2 ideas persist. The first is that a mountain has an inside. I was well accustomed to hills, having run from childhood on the D-side hills and the Monagliaths, those flowing heights that flank the Spey on the other side from the Cairngorms, an ideal playground for a child, and the end of a climb meant for me always the opening of a spacious view over the world. That was the moment of glory. But to toil upwards, feel the gradient slacken, and the top approach, as one does at the end of the Achichin ascent, and then find no spaciousness for reward, but an interior, that astounded me. And what an interior! The boulder-strewn plain, the silent shining loch, the black overhang of its precipice, the drop to Loch Avon, and the soaring barricade of Cairngorm beyond. And on every side, except where we had entered, towering mountain walls. Years later, I had something of the same sensation inside the barns of Bynech, that enormous black cube of rock that lies like a Queen Anne mansion on the side of Ben Bynech. One can walk up a sort of staircase within and look out by a cleft as though from a window. The second knowledge I have retained from my first ascent is of the inside of a cloud. For from a few yards above Loch Etchichin to the summit, we walked in a cloud so thick that when the man who was leading went ahead by so much as an arm's length, he vanished, except for his whistle. His wife and I followed the whistle, and now and then, when we were too slow, for he was an impatient lad, he materialized again out of the cloud and spoke to us. And alone in that whiteness, while our revenant came and went, we climbed in endless way. Nothing altered. Once, our ghostly mentor held us each firmly by an arm and said, That's Loch Etchichin down there." Nothing. The whiteness was perhaps thicker. It was horrible to stand and stare into that pot of whiteness. The path went on, and now to the side of us there was a ghastlier white, spreading and swallowing even the grey-brown earth our minds had stood on. We had come to the snow, a white as of non-life. That cloud, like others inside which I have walked, was wet but not wetting. It did not wet us till, almost at the summit, it broke in hard rain, and we could at last see the corries, scarfed in mist. Some clouds savage the wayfarer on the heights, clouds from below, up here they are rain, or sleet. Some nuzzle him gently, but with such persistence that he might as well walk through a loch. Or the wet may be more delicate, condensing in droplets on eyebrows and hair and woolen clothing, as has happened by morning with the dew after a night outside. Or the cloud may be hardly more than a sensation on the skin, clammy or merely chill. Once I was inside a cloud that gave no sensation whatever. From within it, it was neither tangible nor visible, though as it approached, it had looked thick and threatening, Pardon my lack of Gaelic here. We were on the flank between Scoranduv and Scor Gowth on a cloudless day of sun, and suddenly there was the cloud, making steadily towards us, with a straight under edge about the 3,000 feet level. We thought, we're in for it, but nothing more happened than that the sunshine went out, as though a switch had clicked, and in some 20 minutes the sun clicked on again, and we saw the level under edge of cloud pass away across the Eineck Valley. Inside the cloud had been just dry dull. To walk out through the top of a cloud is good. Once or twice I have had the luck to stand on a tip of ground and see a pearled and lustrous plain stretch out to the horizons. Far off, another peak lifts like a small island from the smother. It is like the morning of creation. Once, on Loch Nagar, we had watched the dawn light strike the Cairngorms, like the blue bloom on plums. Each scarp and gully was translucent, no smallest detail blurred. A pure, clear sun poured into each recess. But looking south, we caught our breath, for the world had vanished. There was nothing there but an immense stretch of hummocked snow. Or was it sea? It gleamed and washed the high hills as the sea washes rock, and came to an end, as most seas do somewhere, with the Glen Lyon Mountains, Ben Lawyers, and Schiehallion, standing up out of it like one of the long twin-peaked islands of the west. A sea of mist invading the heart of the land, but sucked up by the sun as the hot day went on. Seeing the Cairngorms from other mountains, Loch Nagar or the Glen Lyon Heights emphasizes them as a group. From the latter, their great lift can be clearly seen, their mass and squareness. They tower up in a blunt pyramid. The height of high hills can, of course, be appreciated only from others of equal or at least approximate height. But this is not merely a matter of relative stature. There is something in their lift, their proportions and bearing, that can only be seen when one is somewhere near their own size. From below, oddly enough, they are not so majestic. This can be best seen with the Cairngorm group from Geal Cairn in the Monadhliaths. Again, pardon my Gaelic. Which, though not even a 3,000er, stands erectly over against them across the Spey Valley. Coming steeply down its front, one watches the high panorama opposite settle into itself as one descends. It enchants me like a juggler's trick. Every time I come down, I want promptly to go back and see it all over again. A simple diagram explains the trick, but no diagram can explain the serene sublimity these high panoramas convey to the human mind. It is worth ascending unexciting heights, if for nothing else than to see the big ones from nearer their own level. From the hills of Lower Deeside, the plateau nature of the group is most clearly seen, for only the long table of Ben Avon and Ben Aburd is in view. As one follows up the Dee Valley, Carrantoul appears dominant. By Loch Nagar, the whole facade is clear, sculptured in block and clef and cornice, with which the light makes play. It is best at morning, when the cliffs are rose-red. The phenomenon lasts about an hour, precipice after precipice glowing to rose and fading again, though in some conditions of the air the glow lasts longer. And I have seen, in intense still summer heat, not only the corries, but the whole plateau burning with a hot violet incandescence until noon. Sunset also lights the corries, but this must be seen on the other side of the group. From the Loch Nagar side, summer sunsets are behind the Cairngorms, but winter sunsets touch them obliquely. From Loch Nagar, too, what can be seen what is not often seen except by going to it, or to those parts of the plateau just above it. One of the most secret places of the range, the inner recess of the great Garb Cwr of Breriach. On the hills still further west, from Glasmaul on the borders of Angus, the Cairngorm group seems to grow gently out of the surrounding hills, its outlines melting into harmony with theirs. Its origins may be different, but like them it has been subdued by the grinding of the Ice Age, and here, more than anywhere else, the common experience shows. From Ben Oren, at the head of Glen Eye, one looks straight into the Larag Pass and sees the plateau split in two by the cleft that runs right through it. But from the mouth of the A Valley, on the hillside a mile or so from where this stream joins the Dee, one is surprised by a new vision of the familiar range. Here one realizes these are mountains, not a shattered plateau, for they are seen as peaks piled on peaks, a majestic culmination. This effect is most marked when the long, flat top of Breriach is veiled, as it is so often, in mist, while Ben Macdui towers up like the giant he is, flanked by the peaked cone of Cairntoul and reinforced by the lesser and nearer peaks of the Devil's Point and Cairngorm of Derry. These peaks seem to hang splendidly aloft above the eye, giving a new sense of the grandeur of these mountains. But moving further round, southwest and west, one finds only a lump mass, rounded and unshapely, with no dignity except bulk. This is the back of the mountain, like the back of a monster's head. At the other side are the open jaws, the teeth, the terrible fangs. The northeast view from the braes of Abernethy, directly opposite to this lumpish back, has the gaping jaw and the fangs. It is a place of swift and soaring lines. This is Cairngorm, from which, though it is only the fourth summit in height, the whole group takes its name. These plunging precipices from Loch Avon. Here is Stack Iolair, the Eagle's Crag. Cairngorm has the finest complement of lochs. Loch Avon, the small and lovely Loch an Uain, whose waters have the green gleam of old copper roofs, and Loch Morlich, the perfect mirror of the three great corries on the Speyside face. The edge of cliffs hangs 3,000 feet above the smooth water, which is broad and long enough to hold the whole majestic front. Corries, ridges, and foothills that jut like a high relief from the block of the plateau. On a still day it has a dreamlike loveliness. This whole northwest face, the three Cairngorm corries, and the three on Breriach, rises steeply from moor, so that walking along the plateau lip, one has the sense of being lifted as on a mighty shelf above the world. That's the end of part 3. Groups, join us next time for part 4, water.